Welcome to the Spectrum Lounge podcast, where we discuss creators of color disrupting the game in TV, film, and pop culture. I am your host, Rebecca Theodore-Vachon, and on this episode, I'm joined by actress Damaris Lewis, who plays Blackfire on the HBOMax original series Titans. Hi, Damaris. Welcome to the Spectrum Lounge.
Hello. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Listen, this season, because we were first introduced to you in season 2. Well, actually, you can tell our listeners who your character is and what her relationship is to the characters of the Titans.
So I have the luxury of playing Blackfire, who is Starfire's sister, if you're familiar with the Titans comics. Blackfire came to Earth in season 2, at the end of season 2, looking for something. And so we pick back up in season 3 with her story and how she got here.
Right. Yeah. And the thing is, like, when we're first introduced to you in season 2, at least the ending of season 2, I was like, okay, we're kind of set up like, oh, she's going to be the big bad of season 3.
Yeah.
And when we pick up again in season 3, I think what was so surprising and kind of really beautiful is that they really flesh out not only your character, but also the relationship with Coriander. And I find what's so interesting is that sometimes we have different narratives in our heads, right? So Starfire had like this certain idea of her family and her relationship to you, like you were the bad sister, right? And then when we get to see your point of view in season 3, and you're like, oh, wait, hold on, something's not quite right. And I was telling a friend of mine, I jokingly said, I was like, basically Tamarin is like Wakanda gone very, very wrong.
Yeah. It's probably because there's no water. So, it's a little drier, so we're a little angrier.
Yeah.
I think you hit on a great point. You said point of view. And that's one of the beautiful parts of Blackfire. The writers have really given her multiple points of view, especially when you meet her again. I agree. Everybody thought that it was going to be, demolish the world the way that I came in, and we're sort of seeing what happens when you have to battle who you are versus who you think you should be. And in order to survive, most of us choose who we think we should be.
Right.
That's survival, right? And so I think that what you're witnessing in season 3 with Blackfire is this person who has stayed alive based off of filling the shoes of who she was trained to be, but she's got some questions and she's got some things to say because deep down inside, she feels like something isn't right. And so I think that this is definitely it doesn't take away from all the horrible things that she's done, but I do enjoy where we're taking this story with questioning, but personal questioning.
Yeah. Because I think one of the things that occurred to me when I was watching the dynamic between your character and Starfire, it really brought to mind, like when you read stories of like family abuse, right? How you'll have one sibling that will remember one thing very differently. They're usually the favored one. They're like, well, I don't remember my parents being abusive. They were perfect parents. And Blackfire is sort of pushing back like, no, you're not quite remembering things the way that I remember them. And it's sort of kind of like this gaslighting of that, abused child where you're just like, oh no, that didn't happen. Did you do any reading or like any research when you got the scripts for season 3 to kind of prepare for that storyline?
No, I just used my own.
Okay.
There's a lot of elements. I'm a kid who grew up in Brooklyn. I'm from Coney Island.
Yes.
I grew up in the projects. Shout out to Coney Island. So I grew up on the projects, but my projects were on the beach.
Right.
So to my left, I had gunshots, and to my right, I had ocean waves. And I, my family's West Indian.
Mm-hmm.
Grew up in the church. Many different elements to the being that I had to be growing up. The person in the church was not necessarily the person at the party, was not necessarily the calm person on the beach. And so for this particular role, no, I didn't. I've said this before. I study animals when it comes to my roles. So this particular role, there was a lot of time spent looking at videos of cheetahs and jaguars and how they interact with their tribes, mainly because they have to. They're all about. I mean, animals are all about survival, but at the same time, kind of like humans, they get angry, right? And in order to survive, they cannot hold that anger. And so I think that when you're looking at Starfire, I think it's the same thing that I said previously about Blackfire. She's also trying to survive. So there's a lot of information that was already there, I think, because of the past 2 seasons where you see her interacting with the Titans, and you don't fully know about Tamarin, but you know enough, and she's giving enough to them that it helps her survive. It helps her keep this family, right? They don't know everything about Tamarin. So my research for the show for Blackfire really just came from watching the first 2 seasons, looking at, animals that are perceived to be disastrous, who are actually just being themselves. We call them killer whales, but they're orcas. They're animals, and they protect their young just like humans do. But the second humans or people can't control something,
right?
We love to label it as a problem, and you fear what you can't control. So a lot of my research for this role really came around control and the different psychological places that you need to be in for control. There's great control, right? There's stopping at the red light so that somebody else can pass. But then there's controlling parents and situations that are going to create a kid like Blackfire. So there's a lot of multitudes that went into creating Blackfire, but a lot of it just came from the complexity of my story growing up in Brooklyn.
Right. So I think it was episode 4 that's titled Blackfire, and that's when, because at the beginning of the season, we see that Starfire is sort of having like these psychic, like these dreams or like these visions, and it's basically you reaching out to her because you've actually been captured by the scientists for research, and the scene where you guys finally meet each other, where you confronted each other, like I actually teared up when I watched that because there was just so much pain where she says to her, where your character says to Starfire, like, you were my sister, like you were supposed to protect me, Right. And it was just, there was just so much rage and pain and hurt. And I think that was the moment where you're just like, okay, I see where Blackfire is coming from. It's like you said, originally we think in season 2, like you're coming with like doom and destruction. But now when I think about it, I think deep down, there's still like this little girl in Blackfire that is still looking for approval from her sister, right? And so it was just like, so it just recontextualized everything and just like going forward in the episode. So Anna Diop, of course, plays your sister, Starfire. What has it been like working with her and like your professional working relationship?
Anna Diop.
Anna Diop, thank you.
Anna's great. It was definitely a sisterly, I would say, relationship when it came to playing off of each other for these characters, right? Because both of us have to come from 2 different places. I personally, I'm new to the show, right? So I'm new to the show. There's a pandemic. It wasn't a lot of time to hang out right before we filmed, but we did train together. And I think a lot of our acting style came from training together and learning each other's fighting styles.
Right.
Because Blackfire is fresh off of Tamarin, so I'm a little bit more in tune, I would say, with the classic ways of that we were taught, and then you have somebody like Anna's character who's been on Earth for a little bit, so there's a little bit of both. Mm-hmm. And I think we took that training and then we added that to the screen versus vice versa.
Right. What I loved too was the episode like after Starfire rescues your character, and just the interaction that you have when you're introduced to the Titans. The scene where I'm sorry, when she meets Beast Boy and Superboy, and she was like, "Oh, she listens to Superboy. She was like, just wash him and bring him to my chambers." That had me dying. I was just like, oh my God. Because the thing with Blackfire, and I love how you play her, is that she's just like throughout, like even the way that you carry, like she's so regal. You know what I mean? And it was just like, well, of course I want him, you know? And Starfire's like, no, that's not how it works here.
Oh, no, you finished.
Oh, no, I was just saying, how was it like shooting those scenes? I thought that was hilarious.
Gosh, Blackfire is the funnest character. Mm-hmm. Before this, I got to play a character named Jasmine Wintour on Pose, mm-hmm. Who was also very, very, very regal. Mm-hmm. And I will say that I enjoy, I mean, I personally carry myself on the more of a regal side in real life, but it's such a joy getting to play in the regal space when it comes to a character, because I feel like now, especially with the wellness movement, which I prefer to call it a way and not necessarily a movement, because movements end, but we are introducing words to our lives that are kind of similar to the ones that we've read in textbooks about kings and queens, right? Yeah. I am amazing. I am great. I am love. I am power. I am strong. And so for me, doing those scenes was really great because my soul felt good, right? And even in those, how often have you gone to a party and you see a guy and you're like, damn. Ooh, what the things I could do. Mm-hmm. Like all of us know that feeling of just like nothing else matters in that moment. I just got to Wayne Manor. I'm sitting here trying to figure out where I am, what's going on. I clocked this man, and all that goes out the window. Immediately and brought to my chamber. Right. Just the fact that she thinks she has a chamber. It's so nice to see, because like she's still surviving thinking that way, right? Like she's okay. she might have this regal viewpoint of life and very, very, very different. But we love to joke on people who didn't struggle financially. We love it. We love to think that in order to be great, you have to struggle financially. And I think that that's a really interesting moment for Blackfire, because she never let up. No. She's like, and Starfire's like, yeah, no, we don't do that. And she's like, the green one's not yours. And she's like, no. And then I'm like, well, who's going to do the bath? And like, no. So, like, it's really interesting that she has to learn for herself. Right. But she knows who she is. And she's clearly not letting that up, I would say.
Right. I think what was really great is this surprising development where, Blackfire and Superboy are kind of like bonding with each other. That would have, to me, that was like the least likely. I would have never thought of them together, but it makes total sense because they're both outsiders, right? Because, Superboy is also fighting identity issues. The fact that he's, shares DNA with Superman and Lex Luthor, and and Joshua Orpin, of course, is super cute. So what has it been like working with him?
Josh is my favorite. That you'll see the I don't know when this will air, but episode 8 that drops tomorrow. Things get hot.
Ooh. Oh yeah. When I saw last week's episode, I was like, I think something's gonna happen.
Tomorrow's episode, things get hot. I was really, really, really lucky to be paired with Josh. Josh is Australian. And it was really beautiful spending so much time with another person whose culture values quality of life first. And so I learned a lot from Josh this year, mainly because, I come from New York, don't sleep. Sleep, quality of life isn't always the first thing that you get taught is most important, right? It's survival. And somebody like Josh, who thinks so differently, it was really, I think it also played into our characters, right? Where you have these two very different people, but maybe there's something about the other one that the other person wishes they had, and maybe vice versa. And so I think you'll definitely get to see some more play with that, but I can't say too much, but you gotta watch episode 8.
The way Josh plays that character, I love how he has like that innocence of like Clark Kent, and then he'll just switch intellectually to where you'll see like the really intelligent, brilliant side. So it's really kind of cool to see him kind of go between both roles. Well, one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about was when you were introduced in season 2. I was living for those cornrows. I was like, yes, these are everything. And the way your hair, wearing your hair. Yeah, in season 3. So what, was that your idea to have, for Blackfire to have cornrows? Or was that?
Yes.
Oh, I love it.
I worked diligently on Blackfire's hair and clothes. I brought in, for her clothes, I brought in two women named Kathy and Lori from a company called Call and Response Clothing, who made all of Prince's clothes. The last couple of years that he was here, Prince was my dear, dear friend. So that's really beautiful that I get to work with them. But the hair is going to be something that comes out of left maybe. But I wanted to show her scalp. Being introduced in season 2 as an alien on another planet, we didn't know where her story arc was going to go, and I wanted to ensure that her scalp was showing so that we could do whatever hairstyle we wanted for the next season. So it wasn't necessarily just a wig change. And then I also too wanted to, again, back to the blackness has no bounds. I really made it a point to include hairstyles that can be done by people with multiple hair textures, since there's so many hair textures, which is why we get to the Senegalese twist in season 3. So I worked really hard with Stacey Merriman, who is our hairstylist on the show. She's Guyanese, and I'm Katishan. My family's from St. Kitts, so we already had a very deep bond there, being West Indian in our business. But for the Senegalese twist for season 3, again, same thing. I wanted to be able to give her a different hairstyle every episode, and also show people that yes, we have this texture, but it can do everything. So the cornrows were an introduction to. She was harder. She was much harder when she had the cornrows in. Yeah, and we all know how it feels to get those new cornrows and feel like you could take over the world. Yeah. And then you start seeing her attitude matches her hairstyles as season 3 progresses. All of that is intentional. Right. Yeah. No, the funny thing is, like, I've done, braids, twists. I've done all sorts of things, but cornrows, I had not, like, in my adult life. I think the last time I had worn cornrows was maybe when I was like 12. Really? And then I just recently got cornrows. I just started wearing cornrows like last month, and I got to tell you, it's just a different energy and like a different vibe, right? I mean, I have them in right now. Yeah. Because I'm so, I'm really, really, really big in the wellness space. One of the things that I think about often is how much Black women do not reap the benefits of water. We don't swim much. We don't, and this is not a collective. Obviously, there's many who do. Right. But for For the most part, if you've got a weave, if you just got your hair done, you're probably not going to spend every single day in a bath that week. So I personally know the healing benefits of being in water and the steam room and the sauna and sweating and working out. And that's what cornrows do for me. It's a universal way of saying I can do what I want. I can take a shower. I could take a steam shower. I could take a bath. I could work out. I can do all of these things and still go to dinner that night. Not to say that I can't do that with my fro, because I love my fro, but I think that with our particular society, a cornrow style really allows for a multitude of events that you can do for your body, especially when it comes to healing.
Right.
Healing techniques.
Also, who is doing your makeup? Because number one, like your skin is just luminous, and I'm like, I have to ask her about her skincare regimen because I gotta get on it. So, I mean, I'm sure genetics play a part, but do you have like a daily, like certain products or certain things that you do to keep your skin looking healthy?
I do. I'm obsessed with skincare. It is my favorite thing in the world. I treat my skin like a plant. I treat my hair. I treat my body like a plant, right? So you want to keep it hydrated. You want to keep it, give it some sun. I massage my face every single day. I make sure blood flow is getting to my face no matter what. I keep my face ridiculously hydrated. If my face is dry, I will probably find something immediately. I go through different phases. I like to wash my face with pure aloe. I will say I give it to my mom. I do have great genes, but every single thing comes down to what I eat.
Right.
So whatever I eat is going to show up in the form of my skincare. So if I eat too much sugar, then you're gonna see those pimples. So basically, your face is a map of your insides of your body. It's a Eastern way of looking at things, especially with acupuncture. And I ensure that I'm eating really well so that my gut's happy, because if your gut's happy, your face is happy most times.
Right.
The face is the skin is just a giant map of emotions. So depending on how you feel, your skin is going to let you know what's going on in your body. So food is going to be a number one thing for me. I do cleanse, and I do put balms, and I face mask, and I sheet mask, and I do all the things. But honestly, I love my skin, and I know it can feel that I love it. So when you're massaging it, when you're treating it well, just like if you talk to plants, right, and they grow. It's no different. So I love on my skin every single day, and luckily it rewards me with looking good. But on the show, we have a brilliant woman. Her name's Julia. She's from Germany. Yes. And Julia beats this face, honey. Julia beats this face. She has it down. It is beautiful. I absolutely am honored that I got someone so gentle and kind and funny to do my makeup. And yeah, if I take, it's a group effort. If I take care of my skin, then her work looks good. If her work looks good, then I look good. So it's a cycle.
Right. I did want to ask you, because earlier this week I interviewed Yaya DaCosta, and she has a new show coming up, Our Kind of People, and everyone knows that she was a model. She was one of the finalists on America's Next Top Model. And I was asking her about transitioning from modeling into acting. And she was saying that, very early in the business, there was some pushback that people didn't kind of really take her seriously. They're like, oh, you're a model and you're trying to be an actress. And you're a former model who's now transitioned into acting. Did you face something similar? Like when you entered the business, when you decided that you wanted to act, did you feel like people were kind of like, I don't know if we should take her seriously?
I faced something similar internally. There's a lot of healing that has to occur about who you think you are when you make the switch over from modeling to acting, mainly because I started modeling in 2005. And when you spend so long thinking that your best attribute is outside of you, and then you switch to a career where your best attributes come from inside of you, and outside, but mainly inside, right? Your acting, your ability. It's really hard to believe people when they tell you that you did amazing. Right? Because it takes a while to believe that you're an actress if you've spent 15, 16 years of your life telling yourself that you're a model. You have to mentally change your label, which is kind of crazy. You're just switching the box that you're in. But yeah, I mean, this will never change for me. I'm one of the tallest actresses I know. I'm 5'11".
Wow.
So yeah, so I'm 5'11", and I put on heels on, at work, and there is a judgment that comes with what I look like. But the only thing I can do to change somebody's mind about that is be myself. It's up to them if they're gonna change, if they're gonna see me differently, right? But if I spend any time focusing on that, then I'm gonna lose out on work. So yeah, I get to set. I got a lot of presence. I love my height. I love being tall. It's another reason why I absolutely adore playing the superhero. There's really not that many people my height in the business who look like me, and I love that. But it's a fact. I'm very tall, and so I understand. I actually do understand when people see me at work and they automatically go, "Oh, well, she must be dumb, right? She must not be smart," because that's the rap that we give models.
Yeah.
And truth be told, models are some of the smartest cats in the world. The amount of mental stability that you have to travel alone by yourself every day to different countries that you don't speak the language to. If it wasn't for modeling, I definitely wouldn't be where I am acting wise. Modeling prepared me for this job. So yeah, there are days where it's super hard because you want to be accepted by your peers. And then you go home and you just remember that you're phenomenal. All right. And you call your friends and you cry and you get through it. But I can't force anybody to see me differently. The only thing I can do is show them. And it's up to them if they want to jump on the boat or not.
Right. Well, what you're saying, it reminded me when HBOMax dropped the first promo pictures of Blackfire in her costume, and I was just like, "Oh my God, that costume is so." So, how did you feel did you see the concept design? Was that something that you like? Was it more like, "Oh, here's your costume," or was it more like, "Oh, was there any input or like any suggestions?"
Oh gosh, yeah, I'm a completely hands-on person. So LJ Super Suits, we did everything together. They showed me the concept art. I cried, and then we really went in and designed that suit. So there's amethyst in it. My jewelry on the show is actual amethyst. Ooh. It's actual rocks. We went to a rock store in Kensington Market in Toronto, and we picked out the rocks that we wanted. So my suit is no different. The suit mirrors a lot of the clothes on the show as well, but the suit is liquid. It's water. And they wanted it to flow like that. And so, yeah, I was there in every fitting, to the point where I am a dancer. So I was lucky enough that I can do a lot of my stunts, even though Alima, my stunt double, is amazing. So in the fittings, I would sometimes, if I say, okay, well, I can't move my arms for this particular move, I would go into a handstand, and then they would fit me in the handstand so that when the finished product happened, it was mobile enough for me to do that when I got to work. So it was truly a group effort. I've never experienced anything like that. I would suit up any day of the week. And I absolutely adore them.
Yeah.
Adore them.
Yeah. And the fan reaction. So since you've been on the show, what has it been like as far as like interacting with the fans online, like Twitter and Instagram? What is that experience?
Oh my goodness. It's been one of the most beautiful things for me. I have it, but I'm not a big social media person. I don't keep the apps on my phone. I saw a tweet one day from someone that said, Damaris logs in, posts something, and logs out. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty true. That's kind of accurate. But I have enjoyed so much. Again, I used to live a 2D lifestyle, right? So when something happened for me, it was in a magazine, and there wasn't that much hype around it. Even though I've done really big jobs, seeing the fans react in real time to me, the person, my voice, my movements, is actually really healing for me.
Yeah.
Being a person where before it would just be like, yes, that pose is amazing, and seeing them laugh at something I said, or a way I said something, or my hair, or seeing them go crazy over the jackets that I have on, knowing that I know the women who designed them. I've gotten so much love. I'd want to use the word overwhelmed, but I'm not overwhelmed by it. Right. It's a beautiful thing when people can collectively come together and enjoy something, especially during a pandemic. So, man, the Titans fans are bar none, man. They are the most hilarious fans. Gifts that get made, oh God. Just if they're listening to this, just know that I always have the biggest smile on my face when I log into my Twitter or my Instagram accounts, because I really, truly, truly feel that the parts of me that they know are loved. And that means a lot.
Great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. I'm looking forward to episode 8. So like you said, new episodes of Titans drop on HBOMax every Thursday, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So how many episodes are in the season? So we're on episode 8 right now.
There'll be 13.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. It's This season is spicy. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens. And I'm like, this is such a beautiful cast. Like, everybody is so good looking. Oh my God, I would be so distracted. Yeah. So can you tell our listeners where they can find you on social? I know you're not on social media a lot, but where they can find you on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah, I do post. Yes. Both my Twitter and my Instagram are both at Damaris Lewis, DamarisLewis. And then if you want some grounded wellness feels, my website is siramwellness.com, which is SIRAM wellness.com. And that's going to be my wellness blog.
Perfect. Yes, I'm going to be looking out for that. Thank you again. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in to another episode of the Spectrum Lounge. See you on the other side.